Welcome to CV Studios. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps to keep us motivated and make more of these videos for you guys. Let's start today's video.
My name is Nora, and my life has always
Welcome to CV Studios. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps to keep us motivated and make more of these videos. Welcome to CV Studios. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps to keep us motivated and make more of these videos for you guys. Let's start today's video.
My name is Nora, and my life has always been plain, monotonous, really. Each day felt like a copy of the last. I woke up, went to school, came home, ate whatever leftovers my mom managed to leave behind, did my homework, and then went to bed. My parents worked tirelessly, and I couldn't blame them. They were trying to keep us afloat, but in doing so, they were never around. My dad worked construction during the day and as a security guard at night, while my mom cleaned offices in the mornings and waited tables at a diner in the evenings. Their absence left a gaping hole in my life that I filled with quiet routines and an endless sense of longing. Sometimes I'd imagine myself as someone else, someone exciting, someone loved, someone who mattered. But those daydreams always evaporated when I faced the dull beige walls of our apartment. It was a Thursday night when everything changed. I had been walking home from the library, clutching a worn-out novel I had borrowed, trying to escape my humdrum reality through the lives of fictional characters. The streetlights flickered above me as I passed the empty parking lot near our building. That's when I heard the screech of tires. Before I could process what was happening, a van pulled up beside me, and two men in masks jumped out. My scream was muffled by a hand clamping over my mouth, and I was dragged into the vehicle. I kicked and struggled, but it was no use. The door slammed shut, and the van sped off into the night. My heart was pounding as I sat between the two men, my wrists bound with zip ties. They didn't say much, but one of them glanced at me and muttered, "You sure this is her?" The other shrugged. Boss said blonde, medium height. Close enough, close enough. I wasn't even blonde. My dark hair was unmistakable. My pulse raced. Whoever they thought I was, it wasn't me. I wanted to scream, to plead for my release, but my voice seemed frozen in my throat. After what felt like an eternity, the van came to a stop. They looked over at me and said, "I think it's time to sedate her." I panicked, but a drugged hanky was already across my nose. The first thing I noticed when I woke up was the overwhelming scent of hay and leather. My head throbbed as I opened my eyes to see sunlight streaming through cracks in the wooden walls. I was in a barn. Horses whinnied softly nearby, their massive shadows moving like ghosts against the wooden stalls. My heart dropped, a wave of nausea hitting me harder than the dull ache in my temple. Horses, of all things, horses. I scrambled to my feet, my back pressing against the rough wooden wall as I looked around. The barn was enormous, the kind you'd see in movies about wealthy ranchers or equestrian champions. Every detail spoke of money and care, the polished saddles hanging on the walls, the spotless hay, even the horses themselves. They were magnificent creatures, towering and muscular, their sleek coats shining like silk. But to me, they were monsters. I'd been afraid of horses since I was 9. That summer, my family visited a farm, a picturesque place where everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. I was dared to feed one of the horses. The animal was beautiful, a massive black stallion with eyes that seemed almost human. I remember reaching out with trembling hands, holding a carrot, when it suddenly lunged. Its teeth grazed my fingers, and I fell backward, screaming, convinced it had tried to bite me. My parents laughed it off, but I never forgot the feeling of being so small, so vulnerable in front of something so powerful. That fear stayed with me, festering into a phobia I couldn't shake. The mere thought of those huge, restless bodies and their unpredictable movements was enough to make my chest tighten. And now, here I was, surrounded by them. The barn door creaked open, and I flinched. A man stepped in, tall and broad-shouldered, dressed casually in dark jeans and a button-down shirt. His hair was neatly combed, his presence commanding. He carried himself with the kind of ease that only came from a lifetime of getting exactly what he wanted. He looked important, but not the kind that would head a mafia organization. So I assured he was the right hand of the boss. He glanced at me, then at the horses. "You're awake," he said, his voice deep but not unkind. "Welcome to my sanctuary." I didn't answer. My eyes darted to the door, but it was clear there was no escape. "You don't like horses, do you?" he asked, stepping closer. I shook my head, my throat dry. "They're misunderstood," he said, gesturing toward a chestnut mare in the nearest stall. "Strong, loyal, honest, everything people aren't." He reached out to stroke the mare's neck, and it leaned into his touch, calm and trusting. I pressed myself harder against the wall, my breath coming in shallow bursts. "Don't worry," he said, his dark eyes locking onto mine. "They won't hurt you, but if you want to survive here, you'll need to understand them." Understand me? My pulse quickened. This wasn't just about the horses. This was about control. The men hauled me out of the horse sight and marched me inside. The interior was as lavish as the outside. Marble floors, gold accents, and chandeliers that looked like they belonged in a movie. I had never seen anything like it. And then he walked in. He was tall, with sharp features that seemed to be carved from stone. His dark hair was perfectly tousled, and his piercing blue eyes seemed to look right through me. He was dressed in a tailored suit, his presence commanding and utterly magnetic. This was the mafia boss, the man who had apparently ordered my kidnapping. He took one look at me and frowned. "Who the hell is this?" One of the men scratched the back of his neck. Boss, this is the girl you wanted, right?" "No," he said, his voice cold and clipped. "This is not the girl I wanted. This isn't Sophia." Sophia, whoever she was, I wasn't her. I finally found my voice. I think there's been a mistake," I stammered. "I don't know who Sophia is, but I'm not her. Please." The boss stared at me for a long moment before sighing and pinching the bridge of his nose. "Unbelievable," he muttered. Then he waved a hand dismissively. "Take her to one of the guest rooms. I'll figure out what to do with her later." The men led me down a long hallway and into a spacious bedroom. The door locked behind me, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I sat on the edge of the bed, my heart still racing. I had been kidnapped by mistake, and now I was trapped in a mafia boss's mansion. The days that followed were surreal. I wasn't harmed, but I wasn't allowed to leave, either. The staff brought me meals and tried to keep me comfortable, but I couldn't shake the fear that at any moment the boss might decide I was too much of a liability to keep alive. But as the days turned into weeks, something strange began to happen. I found myself drawn to him, the boss, whose name I learned was Leo. I would catch glimpses of him as he moved through the house, his presence commanding attention wherever he went. He was always impeccably dressed, his expression a mix of cold calculation and quiet intensity. There was something about him that made my heart race, though I knew it shouldn't. At first, I hated myself for feeling this way. How could I be attracted to the man who had orchestrated my kidnapping? But the more I observed him, the more I saw glimpses of a man beneath the ruthless exterior. I started to do little things to get his attention. I'd linger in the common areas when I knew he was around, pretending to read a book or admire the art on the walls. I would dress a little nicer, combing my hair and putting on the light makeup that one of the maids had left for me. Sometimes our eyes would meet, and I'd feel a flutter in my chest. But Leo remained distant, his interactions with me limited to curt instructions or the occasional nod of acknowledgement. It wasn't until I overheard a conversation between him and one of his men that I found an opportunity to make an impression. "She's scared of horses," the man said. "Wouldn't even come near the enclosure." Leo chuckled a low, rich sound that made my heart skip a beat. "Weakness is a liability," he said. "I need people around me who can handle anything." I made up my mind then and there. I would prove to him that I wasn't weak. The next day, I asked one of the maids about the horses. She hesitated, but eventually showed me to the room where Leo kept his exotic pets. There, in a stable enclosure, was a sleek brown horse. My stomach churned at the sight, but I forced myself to take a deep breath. "Can I pet it?" I asked. The maid's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "They're harmless, but I'm sure." She opened the enclosure and gently directed the horse towards my hands. Its cool, smooth body slid against my skin, and I fought the urge to recoil. Instead, I stood there, petting the horse as Leo walked in. He stopped in his tracks, his eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice sharp. I swallowed hard. "I'm proving that I'm not weak," I said, meeting his gaze. "I'm not afraid." For a moment, he said nothing. Then, to my surprise, a small smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. "You've got guts," he said. "I'll give you that, but that doesn't show that you're brave. If you want to show me you're brave, fuck it." "Fuck it? What do you mean?" I asked. "Beat down on all fours and let it put its banana in you, then I'll know you're brave," he replied. He had this smirk on his face that made him think I would back down, but I had made up my mind. I gently slid off all my clothes, and I could see his eyes lighten up at the sight of my naked body. I lay beneath the horse, and he instructed the maid to help put the horse banana in me. Oh my God, I was so huge. I could feel every inch of my cookie tier, but I knew it was worth the price. The horse thrusted gently in me, but every thrust came with its own pain. I tried keeping it in, but on the third thrust I let out a burst of tears. "That's enough," he said with satisfaction in his voice. That moment marked a turning point. Leo began to pay more attention to me, and our interactions grew less formal. He would ask me about my life before the kidnapping, and I found myself opening up to him in ways I hadn't with anyone else. I told him about my parents, about the loneliness that had defined my existence, and he really listened. There was a warmth in his eyes that made me feel seen for the first time in my life. And then, one evening, as we sat in the garden under the stars, he turned to me and said, "You're not like anyone I've ever met, Nora. You're different." My heart soared. "Does that mean you'll give me a chance?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Yes. Our relationship blossomed after that. Leo was still the powerful, enigmatic mafia boss, but with me, he was different, softer, more vulnerable. I knew our love story was unconventional, even dangerous, but for the first time in my life, I felt alive, and I wasn't about to let that go.